All right, it's live through YouTube now also. Or will be
John,
here,
for
so.
whatever reason, the delay getting to YouTube was a lot shorter this month than last month.
Yeah, I'm not sure why.
We'll take it. Doesn't matter why.
Yeah.
We'll take it.
You got that right.
Now I got my video going.
Do you press the space bar to talk?
That's an easy way to do it.
I solved my inability to talk by getting a plug-in microphone.
Hi, guys.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing quite well, thank you.
Good to see you in there.
Same here.
Mr. Tony. I like that shirt, Rodney.
We have a muting problem, huh? Yeah, Bobbin, we see your message. Do I have audio? Hello?
Yes.
Bob, unmute yourself.
Bob, you're still, there you go, Bob. Try it now. No, no audio.
Microphone was plugged in, Bob.
Bob, did you work PSK over field day weekend? Okay, just want to make sure you weren't plugged with the radio into the microphone.
Bob C., I have a question.
Go ahead.
Do you have the mini beam?
No, it's in a locker.
Which locker?
Probably West Colonial if it was taken down after field day.
Okay.
I would assume it's there.
Talking about the Mosley?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have to be in West Colonial. It's not another one.
I don't remember moving it into the new locker.
Did
I
you
wasn't in there.
did you put anything in there recently? Beams, poles?
Haven't been to West Colonial in probably since Hamcation.
Okay.
One minute to go.
Can anybody hear me? This is W2AS.
Here you, Al.
Bob, did you see that Anna brought the donuts for the meeting?
I was going to ask Bobbin if he bought the donuts.
I'm wearing them.
I'm just being careful in case my computer has a virus.
Very good, James. Cute.
Hey, am I coming through now? This is David Buck.
Hear you.
Does John have to give us to
No, because we just heard you.
Yeah, you should be able to unmute yourself and just press the space bar. Makes it easier. Then when you release the space bar, it will mute you back. We're gonna get started in just a minute. We're just trying to make sure everybody gets connected up first.
We also have 9 people watching in YouTube already too.
Wow, good.
is anyone else in a green screen?
I have a green screen.
I'm just using our virtual background.
Yeah, you're looking at a picture of my shack that I took yesterday. And then I'm using,
Yeah, without mine, you'll see my phone and stuff on the wall.
I just went to the beach.
About 2 minutes, we'll get started.
I think Dick's trying to connect, as we said in the YouTube chat.
All the cool kids on YouTube sit around drinking a beer. I'm just drinking lemonade.
No beer here. This is Coca-Cola. Actually, Coke Zero.
What are you doing your green screens with?
What do you do it with?
Yes, sir. What are you doing with?
I'll show you. The green screen?
Yeah, I know that, but what do you do on the camera or the pickup to?
Just under your video settings, you can actually choose a virtual background that's already there, or you can upload backgrounds of your own choice.
Oh, okay, and that's where again?
Under your video settings,
In Zoom, or are you talking about video settings on my computer?
Zoom.
Zoom. Okay,
By the little,
I'll look that
by the
up.
little camera down on the bottom left.
All right, guys, I have 5 minutes after 7. We're going to go ahead and get started. As people do still connect, we'll get them into the meeting. And we're at what, 9 people on YouTube watching?
Yeah, Rick Wilson said he couldn't find the link, so I'm going to email it to him.
Okay. Real quick, we're going to go ahead and do the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you would want to stand, or you don't have to, if you want to just sit there and say the Pledge of Allegiance, that's fine too. But let me share a screenshot real quick here, make it a little more official. There we go. So, oh, somebody just coming in. Got that, Michael?
Yeah.
Okay. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, guys. Appreciate it. All right. We'll go a couple of announcements. And real quick, first I want to say welcome to Ron Kramer, KD8ENGA. He is the president of the Dayton Amateur Radio Association, or DARA, or if you will, the club that puts on Hamvention. So Ron is with us tonight as a guest. And Jack Gerbs, who is the previous, actually, I guess as of yesterday would be the previous Hamvention chairman. He may be joining us also here shortly if he gets a chance to jump in here. So we want to welcome them to the Orlando Amateur Radio Club meeting. Kind of still doing this, kind of winging it a little bit, if you will, because of all the new technology out there and doing things virtually. But we appreciate them coming in. And also Stephen, is it Dines? Am I saying that right, Stephen? From Alpha Incentive.
Correct.
What is it?
Dinus.
Stephen is going to be doing our presentation here shortly after we go through some announcements and going around to the board and different clubs and stuff with any updates and stuff that they have. But I want to give you a couple real quick things. Status of Beardall. Beardall is the location that we normally have our meetings at each month when we're able to meet in person. The Beardall Senior Center. It's still closed because of COVID-19. They have not reopened yet. Of course, I'm sure everybody knows the increases of positive cases out there right now. It's unlikely they're going to close or open anytime soon. So for the time being, all our meetings will be virtual still until further notice. And as soon as we can get back to meeting, personally and in person, we'll be glad to be able to do that. I think it'd be fun to be able to get together with you guys again. So I just want to give you an update. It is still closed, so that's why we're still doing obviously the virtual meetings. And I think it's probably wise at this point with the increase in cases that we still meet separately. The board still meets separately. We still do virtual meetings via Zoom. And also, as we just put out the announcement to the Hamcation Committee this evening with the dates and stuff, all Hamcation Committee meetings will be virtual until further notice. Hopefully, again, like I said, we'll be able to get back together here sometime soon. The other thing I just want to mention real quick, it's kind of just a short thing, so that way Stephen has more time to be able to spend with his presentation. I want to mention that if you participate in a field day this past weekend and you want to share a story or share your pictures of your shack, your antennas, anything of that nature, please feel free to send it to Ed. Ed is our editor for the Listening Post. The easiest address to remember to send pictures and articles to him is just editors, and that's editors with an S, at oerc.org. Okay. And that goes directly to Ed, and Ed can sit there and or add it to our newsletter for next month. There's no limit on what we can do with that newsletter, since we're not actually printing them. We're actually just publishing it virtually and sending it out by email. It can be as big as we want it to be. Okay. With the exception, we might have to be careful about, filling up somebody's email box really quick, but there's no limit on pages. So feel free to, send some pictures, send some articles about what you did, maybe contacts you made, something special about what maybe you actually went out and participated in a park or something of that nature, or out in the open this past weekend. So share that news with us and get it out there to everybody so we can see it. Unfortunately, because of COVID-19, again, we weren't able to do a field day group session. It wasn't permissible or wise at this point in time to do it. So again, like Ron and I were talking just a short time ago, we hope that 2021 brings a whole new chapter in this COVID, meaning it's in the past and it's behind us, and we're able to move forward. So just keep in mind, as soon as we know something, we'll definitely let you guys know. Michael, do you want to talk about Hamcation? I know you put some stuff in our newsletter, but you might want to talk about some of the big news release that just happened.
I can. I'm not sure if everybody's read their newsletter yet, or if you haven't seen it on ARL yet, but we did do a joint press release. Got too much stuff open on my computer. The joint press release of Hamcation will be hosting the ARL National Convention in 2021. There is some info in there about what's going to be happening. Our convention theme this year is Rediscover Radio. It's a rallying call for radio amateurs committed to developing knowledge and skills in radio technology and radio communications. It's either for new hams is going to discover radio, old hams are going to rediscover radio. This year it's going to be a little different with the format since we are the national convention. Everything is going to actually be kicked off on Thursday, February 11th at Hilton Hotel Orlando at SeaWorld. ARL will be hosting 4 training tracks there on that day with a luncheon also. I cannot say yet what the training tracks are. They are finalized. It will be coming out in another press release in probably about a month for that part. Some of them's very good things you can sign up for, and all those details will be put out shortly about that. Also, everything will be pretty much going live August 1st on the website. We are still planning to have Hamcation. Us and ARL will work with local government and health guidelines at the time, depending on what they could be, and to make sure everybody's safe and everybody's following everything that we post to based on what it is in February of 2021. The other update I had was, I'm pretty sure that most people in here has been reading the thing about the pavilion getting torn down. The new pavilion is actually up. It is probably 95% done. I don't have no new photos to show this time, but I can actually share a video of the new pavilion. I did not shoot the video. The video was actually done by the fairgrounds employees there. I did go out there about 4 days ago and saw the pavilion from outside of it. It is a lot bigger than it looks. So let me share the quick video. It's not that long, and give you all an idea of what the new pavilion is going to look like. All right.
Can you full screen it all? There we go.
They're actually putting up what's called big ass fans in there. Sorry, the sound's on. It's a quick video. There it goes. Playing something else. So there's the fans they're going to be putting up. But there's the actual pavilion, what it's going to look like underneath. So that's what I have so far on that. Let's cancel. There we go. That's really all I have on Hamcation so far.
Good. Appreciate it. Does anybody have any questions for Michael?
Remember to unmute before you ask.
Makes it easier. You want to mention real quick about the checks went out?
All the donation checks did go out. I know most people in here that belongs to other clubs have received them. Al, I have not emailed Anna yet, but I will to let her know about yours. I haven't forgot. So it looks like Paul got his. I know Rodney, did you get yours yet? Good. Okay. So most people did get them. I know Lamar's got theirs. Most of the local people has got them. So
all right. Appreciate it. We're going to do something different a little bit on this meeting that we didn't do at the last virtual meeting we had. We're kind of trying to bring things a little bit back to normal. After we go through announcements, we always went through all the different clubs to sit there and bring up any updates from the different clubs that attend our meetings. So when I call your club out, if you unmute your microphone and if you want to provide an update, let us know what it is. Maybe you guys are meeting virtually and people might be interested in joining with you. Maybe you got some other updates you want to bring to everybody's attention. Or if you don't have an update, just let us know you don't have an update and we'll move to the next one. So just like we normally do in the past, except, provide whatever updates since we haven't had a actual regular meeting and probably last update you gave was in March. So provide us with an update. Al, we'll go to you first with QCWA local chapter. Don't forget to unmute.
Okay, I'm on mute now, and I hope you're hearing me.
Yep.
But in any event, this is very enjoyable. I did get my check. The figures were wrong, but I'm happy. And that's about all I have to say. Thank you.
All right. Appreciate it, Al. Is anybody from Lamar's want to talk about Lamar's? Any updates? Al, are you still doing Lamar's, or are you letting that somebody else do that now?
I don't do Lamar's anymore.
Okay. Anybody else?
I do know they have a meeting coming up, a virtual one.
Tomorrow night, in fact.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll go to Jerry in the CERT Ham Radio Group.
Yeah, can you hear me, John?
Sure can.
Okay, John. Nothing to nothing to report. The Orlando Emergency Center is in lockdown, as you know, John, and we're in lockdown, and we're completely in the dark. So we're kind of in the shape that you are, and we're just waiting to hear from the city. And I will say this, I doubt very much if the lockdown is going to be lifted in July. So that's it, John. That's all I have from KF4ZRN and from CERT.
All right. Appreciate it, Jerry. All we can do is keep praying that as soon as possible, this thing is gone and stuff. So let me go to anybody from the Clarkona CERT on it? Clarkona CERT? All right, let's go to Bobbin, CFRA.
Doesn't have a microphone.
Oh, he doesn't have a microphone. I forgot about that.
I do know I can talk for him. I do know he sent out an email saying that they couldn't meet right now. Perkins still isn't allowing people over, I think, 6 to sit at one table. So that's what's going on there. He'll keep everybody informed once he learns something new from the restaurant.
Okay. All right, let's go to Rodney. Rodney, you have anything from the Shriners Radio Group?
Yeah, we've moved our tailgate back a little this year, trying to move out of the hurricane season. So it's going to be on November the 14th, which, if the weather's still good, will be a good weekend. But nothing new on it yet. It's a long ways away. But there will be one. Shrine Center is open again to some degree, so I'm hopeful it'll stay that way for the end of the year. Thank you.
All right, not a problem. All right, let's go. Anybody from the Florida Week Signal? Bob C.
Yeah, I don't see George in there. I think they're in the same status as everybody else. Can't have quarterly meetings because of can't get together. So that's the way that stands. But I know all their beacons are still up and running. Thank God.
Okay. And to AMSAT, I'm not sure if Lou's on here or if Lou might even be in the YouTube side of it, or anything else from AMSAT. Okay, we'll move forward. Deers. Anybody from Deers? Disney Emergency Amateur Radio. I know that their meeting's virtual next Wednesday night, and I'm doing a presentation. So it'll be me doing a presentation at the Deers meeting next week on Orange County Aries. So if you are interested in participating or being part of it, contact Deers and let them know so they can get you the link on joining them. Anybody from LARA, Lake Amateur Radio Association? Seminole Aries? Don't forget about unmuting your microphones. I think I saw Ken in there with the Boy Scouts. Ken, are you in there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. Do you want to do anything about talk about Boy Scouts, what they're doing?
Everything is pretty shut down because of everybody else, but we're all gearing up for October. The goal is that the normal October activities we're doing will be the first in-person items at camp. So we're gearing up for 10,000 scouts over 5 weekends. That's 2,000 scouts every weekend. So we can, of course, use some help. If everybody has some time and didn't get enough time on field day, come out and do the same thing you normally do on field day with us. Thank you.
All right. That's each weekend in October?
Yes, every Saturday. So just a Saturday. Usually it's 8 to 8. You don't have to come out for a couple hours if you want. So we scatter the kids throughout the day.
Okay. As it gets a little closer, you have some information like sign up information, how people can sign up. Okay.
Yep.
Cool. Cool. All right. Osceola areas. I'm not sure if I mentioned that one yet. Anybody from Osceola? I don't think I saw anybody come in from Osceola. All right. Orange County areas. I know our meeting is coming up next Monday night, and it's also going to be virtual. So if you are interested in joining us on a virtual meeting and learn about Orange County areas, send me an email and I'll make sure you get the link that I will send out probably on Friday for the Orange County Aries meeting. Actually, not this coming Monday. I think it's gonna be the following Monday. I might have this has kind of confused me being the first of the month. It's gonna be on July the 13th, 2 Mondays or second Monday of the month. So send it out, send me an email if you want to join in, and I will make sure you get included on that link that goes out. Did I miss anybody? Any of the clubs that we normally go around to? Just unmute your microphone. All right, we're gonna go just quickly around to the board members before we go to our presentation with Stephen from Alpha Antennas and see if the board members have any updates they want to provide to the members at this point. Michael, did you have anything else?
I didn't have anything else. One other thing about Hamcation real quick, please keep watch on the website. I've already sent some updates to our web developer. He should be getting them up shortly. So everything's going to be starting to get updated now for it to fully go live August 1st, but start checking it out now. The new logo, if you see in the background here, this is one of our new logos for the 2021 National Convention. It will be up on the website, and then a whole press release also from ARL will be up there, and as different things come up, we'll start updating it between now and August. That's it.
Real quick, do you want to mention ticket prices? No change?
Ticket prices will not be going up this year. They will remain the same. It should be $15 in advance and $20 at the gate.
Okay. All right. Let me go to Anna. Anna, do you have any updates?
Okay.
Sorry about that, technical difficulties. No, I don't have any updates. Just want to make sure everybody's keeping safe.
Okay. And to Bobbin, shake your head if you are yes or no. No updates. Okay. If you did, I was gonna say type them in the chat part, and we'll tell you what they are. Tell everybody else what they are. All right. Bob C, you have any updates?
Yeah, I'm probably the one of the least popular guys in Orlando because I had a call. Apparently, there were 4 people outside of Beard Hall tonight looking to take tests. And it looks like the ARRL didn't get my cancellation. So, oh well, it was on the AR website that we were going to give tests tonight. I think we need to do the club website and change it, canceled until further notice.
Yeah, let me mention that real quick. Here, let me pull up the club website so you can see it. One thing that's makes it a little bit difficult in that. Share the screen. Should everybody see it now? Our club website there's parts of it that are editable, that's easily we can edit, and other things are harder to edit. One of the things that's right here, our next test session will be on July 1st. That automatically changes every month to the next month. That's something that's very difficult to change. I mean, we could probably get the web developer to go in there and put test sessions canceled until further notice. But as soon as we know something, we need to get him to change it right away back to the way it is right now. The part that is easy to update is where it says our next meeting will be on July 1st. This area here is very easy for me to sit there and update. I can talk to him and see what I can do about this part down here about the test session, and I'll see what he says. And my only concern is when everything goes back to normal, I need to make sure he gets it changed back right away. And if he's on the road at the time, it may take some time for him to get it updated. But I'll run that past him and see what he says. So that way, maybe it kind of coincides with each other. But just as far as the club members know, our test sessions run just like our meetings until we get back to running regular meetings at Beardall. The test sessions are the same way. They're going to be canceled or postponed until further notice. So hopefully that helps explain a little bit what's going on with the website. All right, Bob, I got you. Tony, don't forget to unmute.
Nothing from me, John. Thanks.
Okay. James.
Nothing really to add. Just want to be sure now, the way you answered the question about testing, because somebody did ask the question on the Zoom side. I don't know if you saw that. I have a question, how can I take the amateur radio licensing exam? So that is our answer, it's on hold.
Correct. We're not, ARRL hasn't come up or developed a virtual way of doing the test sessions. I know there are some other VECs out there, but since we've been using ARRL for our VEC, they haven't developed it yet. I know they've been working on it, coming up with a new platform to be able to do that, but nothing's been finalized and sent out to anybody yet. So, and since we're not able to really meet right now, and there's no other facilities, I can't get into either one of the EOCs, and Beardall is down, and I think even the public library meeting rooms are even shut down right now. So there's not many options out there.
Okay, well, that probably answers Richard's question. And as far as my involvement with the club, nothing new to report. Thank goodness the repeaters are still working, because some of the sites we would not have access during this lockdown. So knock on wood.
Good, good, good. All right, Frank G, on here? Or Frank T, or Dean? Anybody got updates? Just unmute your microphone.
So Ordine is here.
Okay.
Yeah, really nothing new, in part because of what James said. We've got some access issues with some rooftops. Otherwise, I was hoping to have some more progress on the mesh networking, but we may have to wait a few more months on that.
Okay. Well, everything seems to be on hold. Just not our things. Other things that other companies and clubs are trying to do are on hold too. So, all right. Does anybody have any questions real quick? Just unmute your microphone, say your name real quick, and we'll recognize you. And then we're going to move forward to Stephen for his presentation. Not hearing anything. All right, Stephen.
Hello, good evening. Let's go ahead and make sure you can hear me first.
Yep. We
Excellent.
got 16 people on YouTube watching live, and we have 31 on Zoom right now.
Understood. Excellent. Okay, well, thank you very much for this chance to give a presentation. And we've been spending a lot of time changing things, how we do things as well. An extra amount of time, I guess you might say, because we're not preparing and going to Hamfest. One of the things that we have done that has been very well received with the amateur radio community worldwide is a communities section. The community section for us, we just placed it on our website at alphaantenna.com. In that section, we have people that have been submitting their photographs, and then we place them up there after we, of course, admin each photo. Then we also have a section where people have been writing white papers. And some of the white papers are quite extraordinary, even magazine quality content with photos, a few with video demonstrations. So other things that we've done there in the community section is we've received questions over the years, and we keep a whiteboard for each product. Each product will receive questions, and we'll just put another question up on the whiteboard when a new one comes up. So there happens to be common questions that we're going to show you today about magnetic loop antennas. Some of the things that we'll present is, well, I think maybe I'll just go ahead and get into it and show you. So let me see if I can show you the screen here and share my content. Now keep in mind that when I do share this, I'm going to be sharing it from my photos, and according to Zoom, you can, if you have a touch screen, pinch your screen and zoom it out. So we'll just go there now. Excellent. Is this content sharing now?
Not seeing it quite yet.
Nope, not yet.
Okay. Let me go ahead and try some more here. Oh, it's going to require me to do one at a time. That's okay. There it goes. Okay, and I have one more to check. There we go. Now are you seeing the magnetic loop antennas cover page?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, so let's go ahead and just get started here. So this will be the basics of magnetic loop antennas with some special content. First seen here, and it's never been presented before by us. There's a history of magnetic loop antennas that go back to the early 1900s. A lot of people will say, well, hey, I invented, or I created, or maybe they reinvented, or maybe they were just piggybacking onto something else. Well, there's a lot of different ways of doing these magnetic loops. And in history shows us that they've always been a loop. If you've never seen this graphic before, feel free to drop over to Wikipedia after the presentation, and you'll see this very graphic. So we're going to jump into the RF exposure. So first thing we put in our user guides. So like any transmitting antenna, magnetic loop antennas also expose an operator to RF. The difference is a lot of people use magnetic loop antennas right beside their operating position. Well, many references for RF exposure distances and limits for magnetic loop antennas have already been written. So rather than become a doctor or become an expert in magnetic fields, we stand on the shoulders of giants, where there are 4 references at the bottom here, where most recommend that a 100-watt magnetic loop be placed at least 3 to 4 meters from the operator or farther. So a lot of times what we find though is people will be using QRP levels instead of one of our 100-watt loops. Well, as you know, perhaps each operator is responsible for determining what is safe for operating, first of all, for them as an operator, and then for others as well that may be in the area. But those references you'll find also in our community page. So when I zoom past this, it's not like I have zoomed past it forever. We have placed it out on our website underneath that drop down, so that if you would like to go out and read a lot more about this subject, you most certainly can. For a long time, we hesitated about making this information part of what we do as a company. But after extensive research into the sources and discussions we felt safe to at least reference the material that's already been published. So radiation patterns are very fun for me. It's a personal thing, I guess. In the near field, magnetic loops are good for nulling out noise sources, as there is a very directional pattern in the near field. So in the far field, you'll notice on the left, this diagram here, it really starts to get, well, this 3D model, it gets sort of fat. And in the far field, which has some directionality, does actually begin to minimize itself the farther from the antenna your signal radiates. That there is still a null, yes, but the farther you get away, the less of a null that becomes. So sometimes when you have your loop deployed, you'll also have it perhaps on a tripod at 3 or 4 feet off the ground. Well, there's surrounding objects as well. Those surrounding objects will also affect your radiation patterns. And so this perfect scenario that you will hear, oh, there's a null in my loop. Well, yeah, there is. But remember that even as the radiation pattern reflects off the ground, if you don't even have anything around you, it does get distorted the farther out you get. My favorite example is we'll put an aluminum sided trailer on the back side of a loop and see what effects that have, just for fun and experiments. Like I said, radiation patterns is sort of my thing. Well, then there's NVIS. Well, loops can be mounted horizontally to enhance omnidirectional, its omnidirectional pattern, as well as NVIS performance. So if you take that diagram on the left and you lay it on its side, now you'll see an antenna that is a loop that is now horizontal. So efficiency. So efficiencies are an interesting topic for me as well. I guess anything that's antennas is interesting for me. I've heard, oh, well, a magnetic loop is not an efficient antenna, or maybe it's a compromised antenna. And I always lead with, so is a dipole if it's not at resonant height. So if you got a dipole on 40 meters and it's not 20, it's not quarter or wavelength high, you've already sacrificed efficiency. On a dipole, you have resistance in the wire. If you happen to have a 1-to-1, balun at the center of the dipole, there's some more losses. So what is the efficiency on a reference dipole? Definitely less than 100%. Becomes an argument after that for at least antenna engineers. If a perfect world existed for a magnetic loop antenna, one can only make a magnetic loop antenna that is 91% efficient. The reason it can only be 91% efficient is after you go past there's a standard for how large a magnetic loop antenna can be before it becomes something other than a magnetic loop. It becomes what's called a small transmitting loop. And so here you are looking at the formulas and loss inductance, just everything that comprises a 20-meter magnetic loop that would have a circumference of 16.7 feet, where that magnetic loop would be 91% efficient. So what I've done here with this particular formula is I have taken the magnetic loop up to the maximum size it can be, which is 16.7 feet on 20 meters before it becomes a small magnetic loop or a small transmitting loop. And I look at the efficiency at that point, which is 91%, or 0.4 dB below 100%. That's another interesting figure right there. You'll see on the very first line, antenna efficiency, 91%, or negative 0.4 dB below 100%. There is no human ear that can really hear the difference between an antenna that's 91% and 100%. think about how that translates into an S meter. Some will say 3, others will say 4. It depends what standard you're using of the number of dBs per S unit. Even if we use a smaller number of 3 dBs per S unit, this would be 0.4 dB, which would be less than 1/6 of an S unit. Are there any questions about that or anything else up to this point? Otherwise, I'll move on.
I was just
All
going to
right.
say, make sure you unmute your microphone so we can hear you.
Oh, yes, there's that. All right, we'll move on. Do I have to retune when changing frequencies? A lot of people think you have to retune a magnetic loop antenna every single time you turn the change frequencies. Well, I guess that depends on what band you're on. Well, when you change bands from 20 meters to 10 meters, absolutely, you're going to change frequencies in such a large way that you're going to have to retune that loop. So when you change bands, yes. Well, retuning once on a band depends upon which band you are on. For example, on 17 meters, it's such a narrow band that you have 100% coverage with an SWR. Now these are figures from an alpha loop, so take it for what it is there. It's still fair. It's still a what they call a high Q antenna, so it has a narrow bandwidth. But on 17 meters, if you tune it to the center of the band, no, you're not retuning it. In a second, I'll tell you what happens if you do retune it, though. Over here on 15 meters, which is a pretty big band, you have 30% coverage. So if you're a general class operator and you have your general class license and you say, well, all I can use for my voice portion of the band is really 30% of the band. So now when you're on the SSB portion of the band, perhaps you don't even have to retune it at all. Well, what happens if you go ahead and retune it, or versus don't retune the magnetic loop? When the magnetic loop has a lower SWR, it has more effective radiated power. That's the way it is with all resonant type antennas. So you can just go ahead and not retune, but you're going to lose some of the effective radiated power if you don't retune it. On 17 meters, it's extremely minimal, the amount of effective radiated power you're losing. And one of the more fascinating things about SWR is a signal that has a 1.1 to 1 SWR sounds a lot like a signal that has a 2.5 to 1 SWR. I'm not going to get into the losses or the formulas for SWR. That's not this presentation. But feel free to look up what does that translate into dB loss, even using the 3 dB per S unit. Is it even half an S unit? If you have a 1.4, an SWR that's 1.4 higher, for example, from the 1.1 to the 2.5 SWR, that's something I'll challenge you for homework to take a look at. Well, the construction basics of a magnetic loop is the outer loop, where the outer loop actually, the diameter impacts the frequency range. So what we mean by that is the diameter will be the first thing that impacts what frequency ranges this loop will work on. So the traditional 3 meter wide magnetic loop is the acceptable diameter for a magnetic loop that can cover 10 through 40 meters. You make that outer loop much smaller or much larger than 3 meters, you're going to lose 10 meters. If you make it larger, perhaps even 12 and 15. And if you make it too much smaller than 3 meters, you're going to lose 40 meters, notwithstanding the type of variable air capacitor that you're using. But we'll talk about that lossy thing in just a second. The girth of the material then determines the efficiency as well as what the material is made out of. So if you were to use stainless steel or aluminum, especially anodized aluminum, you're using a substance that has more resistance. It's harder. Stainless steel is harder than aluminum. Aluminum is harder than gold. And then you've got copper that you can make it out of, which is that's a good substance there. So you can get into the metallurgy and look at the resistance charts to see what type of efficiency you can have for the type of metal that you're using. Now, others will use LMR 400, and they'll tie the center conductor to the braid, and that works quite well also. The last statement there is a double loop squares efficiency. So if you would like to decrease the bandwidth and also increase the efficiency, you can form a double loop. What we've done here at Alpha Antenna is we've created a double loop that will allow you to get on 80 meters. And so we have this magnetic loop that is over 21 feet in circumference, but we've formed a double loop with it so that now has an efficiency that's been squared and maintains a diameter that's almost 4 meters across. It mounts on the mounting hardware that we've developed. So that when deployed, you get 80 meters and 40 meters combined. So we have two different variations of that same loop. One is 10 through 40 meters. One is 40 through 80 meters. And yes, I did say 40 meters twice. That actually does not mean one inside. So the question is a double loop. Does that mean one inside of the other? No, actually, that would be a loop, two loops that are concentric with one another. We space them at 3/8 of an inch with spacers that we've built, these nylon spacers. And so literally it is two concentric loops. And if you go to the alphaantenna.com website and you look at the 10 through 80 meter magnetic loop, you'll see it deployed. And you'll see actually a photograph of it. I didn't want to make this a presentation about our products, as you can tell already, because who wants to see that, right? So we'll move on to the variable air capacitor. So the picofarads impacts the frequency range that you can tune the magnetic loop for. And now I said the word tune, which if you're a QRP operator and you're using an antenna tuner, you are introducing losses. So herein is the devil in the design of a magnetic loop. Excellent antenna for the frequency that is designed to operate on. So what I mean by that is on the left side, the outer loop, which frequency is that outer loop designed to operate on, is an excellent question to ask yourself if you're going to build one of these. The variable air capacitor changes the capacitance of the of the tuning to lower the SWR. So inductance on the outer loop, capacitance on the capacitor. Basically, an antenna tuner has an inductor inside it and a capacitor that's variable. And that's pretty much what we got going on here too. Until you get to the inner loop. This is where an antenna tuner and magnetic loop antennas separate ways. An inner loop impacts the SWR of each band. So a moment ago, I said variable air capacitors do. Well, yes, but so does the inner loop. If you're building a magnetic loop antenna and you're having a devil of a time trying to get that SWR down, be very suspicious of the size of the inner loop. A lot of people will say, well, an inner loop simply needs to be 1/5 the diameter of the outer loop. No, not at all. It's around that. But if you're using that as a mathematical and mechanical precise cut, no, that's not how this works. I have a wall. I kept the wall, filled it with coax as I went through all the different variations of inner loops that can be constructed. We'll talk about the different types of inner loops in a moment. Just remember that it does impact the SWR for each band. The coupling. There are several coupling techniques. Here's 3. The first one you'll see is just the center pin goes to the outer loop. And the outer loop attaches to where the braid would be on your coax. Then on the opposite end, there is a variable air capacitor that you can tune that loop with. The center diagram is a more popular way of doing it. You have the feed point in the center. That's what that little coax is hanging down there. Then you have the inner loop I told you about, and the outer loop that I told you about, and the variable air capacitor at the bottom. The last, and it's not a very popular way, but it does work, is the one on the right, where you have a toroid that you place on the outer loop material, and then you loop your coax through that toroid. All that we're trying to do here is we're trying to inductively couple that inner loop with the rest of the system, your feed point. Next page. Speaking about the inner loop. A lot of times people say, what about the capacitor? It's not just the capacitor. This is a variation of 2 different inner loops that are designed almost exactly the same way. One is unshielded and one is shielded. So the one on the right is the one that we use here, and the benefits of using a shielded loop, which is a bear to build. I mean, it is not, I hired someone because I didn't like doing it. One, it can lower the RFI. If you have an unshielded inner loop that goes directly to your radio, it's going to pick up RFI. But if you have a shielded or a loop, you're not going to have that problem, and here's why. The braid floats. It's not part of the circuit. You're only using the inner conductor on a shielded loop. The inner conductor is the only component that is part of the electrical system on an inner shielded loop. The braid that then is on that coax, yes, the shielded inner loop is made of coax. We use LMR 400 here again. That braid floats. We cut it back 1/2 inch so that it does not touch the circuit. And it shields the inner conductor from RFI. This also increases efficiency. Next page. QRP only. Magnetic loops are for QRP only. Don't use them. You know they're not. If you build a magnetic loop correctly, and I'll use this, a lot of people say, how did you make your magnetic loop 100 watts? Well, can I just get the capacitor and then I'll have a magnetic loop antenna that's 100 watts. No, that's not how it works. The way that we did this is we perfected every component of the magnetic loop that you just saw depicted in this presentation up to this point. We perfected the outer loop. We perfected the inner loop. The capacitor that then we use doesn't have to work as hard. The more losses, and this is something that I'll equate to a, let's say, a balun or an unun. If you have just a random wire on a 9-to-1 unun, and you see an SWR that you can use on all the frequencies, and you start transmitting, you'll reach up there and touch that unun sometime, and you'll say, well, that thing is hot. There's losses inside that unun. Well, the same goes with loops that have not had every component perfected. There are losses, but where do they go? Well, if you don't perfect the inner loop, the way the outer loop's constructed, and frankly and truthfully, everything about the antenna, your losses are shown by arcing capacitors. Capacitors will arc, and you will have that loss inside of the variable air capacitor itself. This is why you don't see a lot of loops out there that are more than 30 watts or 20 watts. They're only QRP. These QRP loops still work, but if you're building your own loop, remember, you can set the bar higher and go for the 100-watt version. Okay. Now, these 100 watts I'm talking about are duty cycle dependent also. So don't let me lead you astray in thinking this is digital 100% duty cycle 100-watt ratings. No, that is not what this is. These are 100-watt SSB ratings. Oh my gosh, I just felt misled. Well, that's what your radio is rated at. That's why we built that this way. So at CW, based upon duty cycle, so that's a fun thing that the ARRL gets into is duty cycles, especially with RF exposure, which was the very second slide in this presentation. You'll see that CW has a 50% duty cycle. Well, that means that this loop is rated at what then for CW? 50 watts. And so on with digital modes with their duty cycles. Let's go ahead and move past that because this is not a duty cycle presentation. I just wanted to make sure I was right up front and honest about what these ratings are. It's built for the radios. For SSB users on that wattage. Okay, let's see here. Magnetic loop antennas do not need a variable air capacitor. Well, that's a true statement. Jumper wires can be used for capacitance instead. So if you don't want to go out there and spend a lot of money on a variable air capacitor, which typically if you get them used and it's a decent one that has any type of range and high voltage, they can range anywhere from $5 on the Lucky You Found It table at a Hamfest to $180 for the one you see here in the picture on the top. That's a very high dollar version of what we're talking about. And let's talk about this jumper wire for a second, though. A non-variable air capacitor construction basics are, again, an outer loop and an inner loop, and also perhaps a coaxial jumper. A single band, non-variable air capacitor magnetic loop antenna components include everything here. There, again, here is the devil in the details. You've got basically a fixed capacitance in this jumper. So it's going to be so your loop's going to be for one band. Oh, what's the point of doing that? Well, if you build a resonant magnetic loop antenna, which we did for a while, we called them the RML-10 for the 10 meter, the RML-20 for the 20 meter, the RML-15 for the 15 meter. So resonant magnetic loop antenna, the RMLs, can be built for a specific band. Why would you want to do that? Well, a resonant dipole is more efficient than that 9-to-1 unan with a wire on the end of it. That's a pretty extreme comparison, I know, but what we have here, hopefully, is a successful ability to communicate that a resonant magnetic loop antenna can be constructed for maximum efficiencies of, what was that number? 91%. Finding an antenna that's 91% efficient is a challenge, but finding an antenna that is for 20 meters that you can make a double loop out of, and suddenly it fits in a 4-foot area, is an answer to a lot of people's homeowners associations nightmares. Yeah, you can have a 91% and efficient antenna using this build technique right there in that 4-foot space off your patio. So here are the assembled non-variable air capacitor magnetic loop antennas. Boy, they look familiar, don't they? One person asked the question, what does that double loop look like? That double loop looks like the one on the left, where you have 2 concentric loops. Each one of these, as designed, are 91% efficiency and 100 watts on 20 meters. 100 watts SSB, yes, but still. Here I put a inner loop reference where it says inner loop is 1/5 the size of the outer loop. Remember, it's this way or that way a little. It can be a little larger or a little smaller, depending on what your dip in your SWR is. In a perfect world, yes, 1/5 is the correct calculation, but we have a lot of things going on here. In the double loop scenario, we have cross inductance. Not a bad thing. It's also why you square your efficiency. The one in the center is actually 16.7 feet in circumference. That's how big it has to be to have 91% efficiency on 20 meters if you have a single loop. On the double loop, an interesting question comes up. Well, if you're squaring the efficiency, what does that do to your 91% efficient rating? It's a good question, isn't it? Another homework assignment for you. All right, moving on, we got your hints and kinks that are now on our community and support page at alphaantenna.com. We also have the customer photos, and there are a lot of reviews that people have been writing here. So thank you very much today for the opportunity to hopefully enlighten you and give a presentation here. And everybody, you stay safe. I'm going to go ahead and go to mute for a second and see if you have any questions.
Yeah, just don't forget, if you have questions, you can either type them in on the YouTube chat, or you can just unmute your microphone, or if you're on the Zoom side, and ask your question. Good presentation. I appreciate that, Stephen.
Well, it was definitely a challenge, creating a presentation that is purely visual. And, well, I didn't want it to be exactly a PowerPoint, because I'm used to holding the antennas and saying, hey, do you realize if you take 2 magnetic loop antennas and you feed one of them here, and you feed one of them, and you don't feed the second one, you can tune the one that's fed, and the one that, okay, let me see if I can do this with my hands. It's hard to do without an actual demonstration. We've got 2 loops. If you got 2 magnetic loops, resonant and resonant, because you tuned each one for 20 meters, but only one is fed, they both will couple together, even when separated. When you tune the second one, the one that's not fed, it will lower the SWR on the first one. Very cool stuff. So hopefully you heard some new information today, and you can take that away. Is there any questions?
I do have one, Steve. Michael Colley here. Why is it that with the double loop like that, the one will do 100 watts, and for 40 and 80, you can only do 20?
All right. So when you have a double loop, you have a significant more interaction between the two outer loops that causes the power to come back to the capacitor. That power that goes back to the capacitor will arc it sooner at a lower power level. On 80 meters, for example, a loop would be extremely large if you had 91% efficiency. The less efficient one makes the outer loop, because of it being smaller, the less efficient it becomes. And so that will arc the capacitor sooner also. The way that we offset that loss of using a smaller outer loop than is 91% efficient for the size is we double loop it. But that also is, like I first mentioned, the reason there is additional coupling going on that the capacitor that will be seen inside the capacitor.
Okay, thank you.
My question. If it's circular, does it matter? I was just Googling around. I noticed somebody made one that's rectangular.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
So the important thing about the loops is that you don't take a right angle. I always bring into play electrical wiring on that note, where if you're running electrical wiring, you don't take a right angle. Otherwise, you're going to have a hot spot in your wall. Well, that's because of something called capacitive crowding. On a loop, you can also have capacitive crowding if you take a right angle. Now, rectangular loops are argumentatively going to have, it will have capacitive crowding. How much? It will depend on several factors, including the degree of the bend. Unfortunately, for at least magnetic loops that are rectangular, the shape of the sphere coming off, or as we say in the business, your radiation angle, your takeoff angle, all those things are going to be a little off. It's not going to have a symmetrical type of radiation pattern. So radiation patterns become an issue when two parallel sides of a loop are actually in parallel with each other. So we have found, though, that an oval, so if you take a loop that's round and you squash it, what we found is when you do that, you increase the performance in MCOM areas. So regional MCOM is increased for your coverage, because the shape of the takeoff angles are off the edge of the loop. So the more loop you have facing towards the sky as you squash it, the more signal is going to go up. Well, same thing with the bottom of the loop that was ovalized, we'll call it. Now you have the ground, where the signal goes to the ground and goes back up. Well, when that happens, you have your ground gain, and that will enable you to have more NVIS propagation as well. So you can form an oval with a loop to enhance NVIS. What does that do for the DX component though? The DX component still does receive a significant amount of the signal towards the horizon. That is if you can see it. So a magnetic loop antenna's minimum height off the ground is 1 loop diameter. So if you put it up higher off the ground, all you're doing is you're just seeing farther and above things and past things and over things. But in the technical world, 1 loop diameter is all you have to put it high. So that's the difference between the two different shapes. The most important being is the interaction of 2 parallel surfaces in the design of a rectangular loop. I can still see you.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Steve. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to cut you off.
This has been fun. Yeah, I've had a lot of things race through my mind that about these magnetic loops as I was giving the presentation today, and one of them was the 2 loops that you can use. One to tune, the feed point, and then the second one you can tune the actual other loop with. Another thing that we did is we found that magnetic loops are also the most efficient mobile antennas you can buy.
Okay. Any other questions? Michael, did you look on
Does
the
Alpha Antenna have a website?
Yes, that would have been the alphaantenna.com. So are you going to put it on this presentation somewhere too?
We can do that. I can
Okay,
also
so yeah.
email it out to everybody.
Yeah, right above me, you'll see Alpha Antenna. And that's just put .com on the end of it, whatever side. So alphaantenna.com, yes, is the website.
Is that one word?
What's that?
Say
Yes, sorry.
antenna, is that one word?
Yes, push them together. Yes, sir. There it is. Yes.
Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you, Michael.
Stephen, thank you very much for doing the presentation this evening. We hope to see you in February at Hamcation, and hopefully with all this virus stuff will be gone by then. So,
Well, my family is looking forward to coming down and seeing everyone again. My wife is already making plans. So it's a wonderful club, wonderful time. Everybody's so friendly. And we love coming down. We look forward to it. We weren't able to be there this year, of course. But John was there for representing us. And so I will be there the next year, though.
cool. Good to see you then too. All right, let me just wrap up with a couple things real quick. One, I just want to make mention, I kind of forgot to do this at the beginning of the meeting. If you have any updates for your membership that you need to send to us, you can easily send your any email updates, phone number updates, address updates, anything of that nature. Maybe you've upgraded your license, you want to let us know, become an ARRL member, you can let us know that also. If you just send it to membership@oerc.org, Rick will be able to get that, and we'll get that stuff updated into the database. The database is still a work in progress. We're still trying to get that done. And hopefully here soon, we'll have the website updated. So that way you can do all that on the website yourself. So without having to go through us all the time. So that hopefully get done here soon. The other thing I would just want to mention too is that even though with the COVID-19 situation going on right now, we are still planning to have a Christmas party. The planning is going on at this point. Anna's working on different details, And until we hear otherwise, we still plan on having our Christmas party in December. We weren't able to have field day as we talked about a little while ago, but we still are planning on our Christmas party in December. So just keep in mind that we won't have a meeting in December, but we will have the Christmas party the first Saturday of December. Everything's still set to be the same location and with the same caterer and stuff, but if anything changes, we'll definitely let you know. So keep your fingers crossed that that will still happen. And lastly, I just want to remind everybody, our next regularly scheduled meeting is on August the 5th, which is the first Wednesday of August, obviously. And we're lining up Steve Molo from Gigaparts will do a presentation on ham radio future youth involvement. So that might be something really interesting for the guys from the Boy Scouts club to come in and listen on too. But also he is also going to plan on doing 1 or 2 items of the latest and greatest in amateur radio. So stay tuned for that. And we're lining up even more people for future meetings because, again, virtual meetings is the way it's going to be for the time being until we get word otherwise. So, which is nice because we can bring people in, just like Steve came in to take care of this presentation. We can bring people in from around the country without actually having to fly them to Orlando. So looking forward to it. Does anybody have any questions? All right, we want to thank everybody for attending. Normally right before we go to our presentation, we have our donuts and our dessert and coffee and stuff like that there. But hopefully everybody was able to bring their own beverage of choice and maybe even a dessert of choice to the meeting tonight and enjoy it that way. So looking forward to things changing. I keep saying this. I keep looking forward to things changing. Got to get back into the routine. This new routine, I'm not used to it. I like the old routine better. So does anybody have any questions? Right? See, somebody got Krispy Kreme donuts. Rich bought Krispy Kreme, and he even has some left. James, I agree with you there.
That'll change.
Also, just to let everybody know real quick.
John, I got
Let everybody know real quick if go to him or OARC, it has been updated on the website now. If you see there, all testing has been canceled till further notice. That's all I have.
Okay. Somebody had a question?
This is very interesting.
Yeah.
Yes. I appreciate Steve coming and doing that and bringing in some different people every month to do these type of presentations would be good. Okay. Anything else?
I think I got my microphone working finally.
Yeah, this is David. That's been an interesting.
Heard that, David. Good.
Okay. Yeah, I just happened to have same time. There's a 2-minute lag between presentations.
Oh, between YouTube and Zoom?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, there is a little bit of lag time, but it's worked out. The very first time we did the virtual meeting, we had everybody go to YouTube and only the board was on Zoom because we weren't sure exactly how it was going to work. And you know how amateur radio always has its difficulties in certain things, and we thought we were going to have a lot of technical issues. So instead of everybody trying to connect on Zoom, we thought it'd be easier everybody just view on YouTube, and we discovered that Zoom was working pretty well. So for the club members, at least, you know, the information went out to club members, and then anybody that wasn't a club member could still watch on YouTube. So
Questions coming up.
I'm sorry, good.
There's a question coming up. It keeps popping up, so I guess we need to address it. Do you know how other clubs are doing virtual testing? Oh, thank you, Michael.
What do you think of that?
Virtual testing?
The Mason,
Is the gate locked?
yes.
The as far as virtual testing goes, we mentioned at the beginning of the meeting that ARRL, being the VEC that we use, has not developed a virtual testing system yet, although they are working on it. They just haven't finalized it. Once they finalize it, we'll take a look at it and see if it's something that's going to work for us. And obviously, if it does, we'll if we haven't gotten back to having regular meetings and test sessions by then, we'll definitely look into it. The other the other VEC that we have used, which is Laurel, my understanding does not recognize virtual testing at this point. So that's why we haven't pursued that route either. So I know there's
What I
some
know of
virtuals that do it.
is W5YI. They're doing it, but they're basically doing it one-on-one, is what I read.
Is it?
Yeah, it's one person with 3 VEs because it makes it easier to watch the person. Is what they've been doing. So.
Yeah, and we have discussed this in board meetings, and I've even discussed this with Bob Cumming on a couple different occasions. And there's just the question of being able to observe all angles, if you will, of the person taking the test. It's one thing seeing their face, but you can't see sometimes what they're doing down on the desk or what books they might have open or something. Just try to keep it all legit. So we're definitely looking into it, and if something does work out to our benefit, we'll pursue it. Any other questions? It was
John?
good seeing everybody. Good, Bob.
The only people that I've seen doing it so far have been doing one-on-ones, and the volume that I anticipate when we do open testing up again, it's not going to be one-on-one. I'm looking at maybe the first test session we run will probably be about 20 candidates or more.
Very true. I did hear on W5KUB, I think it was, on his presentation last night. Watched it on YouTube after. I think he's the one that mentioned a group out of Alaska or Anchorage is now doing a total test session on the computer. So you actually just, instead there's no paper involved, everything's done on the computer. Something new. See how that works out for them. Apparently they kind of mastered it and been using it now for a little while. So be interesting to see what happens with it. As everybody knows, FCC doesn't have a problem with virtual testing. Just got to be able to develop it and stuff. Around the United States, colleges have done their finals by virtual means for years now. So it's available to be done. Just got to be able to work it for us amateurs. All right, guys, anything else? It's not bad. We started at 7, a few minutes after 7, getting done at 8:30. Still running about an hour and a half, which is what our normal meetings run, from about 7:30 till 9. Next thing we'll have to develop is how to do drawings, door prize drawings during a meeting, virtual meetings and stuff. So we'll have to work on that next. So good to see everybody. Appreciate everybody coming in. Don't forget, the next one's coming up August the 5th. And Steve Molo from Gigaparts is going to be doing a presentation. So, and then the following month, I'll let you know who's coming in next as soon as I wrap that one up too. So trying to get them lined up in advance. I like having them lined up, stacked up, instead of trying to scramble each month getting a presentation. It's much easier. So Ron, it's good to see you. So take it easy up there.
Nice to see you all.
Good
Thank
to
you.
see you also. It's hot up here. We're officially in a heat wave now.
Oh,
just read that a few minutes ago.
It's just it's just 77 down here now.
I know it's about 87 right now. It's been over 90 for the last 5 days.
Then the high 90s, 98 or so a couple days ago here.
Yeah,
Good
we've
night.
been running 100, between 1 and 110 with the heat index here.
Thank you, John, W2AS.
You're welcome, Al.
Bye, Al.
All right, guys. Appreciate it. We'll see everybody soon.